Hello and welcome back to the Mojave, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout New Vegas, where today I would like to do a discussion video talking about a certain perk. This perk is going to be jury rigging. This is widely considered one of the best perks in Fallout New Vegas, but whenever I do a video talking about this one, whether it be ranking the perks, talking about quality of life perks, or saying which perks I would probably go for on like a new playthrough or even on multiple playthroughs, jury rigging pops up pretty often. It's probably one of the most talked about perks in Fallout New Vegas, and for good reason. It is a very good quality of life perk, but I have heard it also be called very overrated, like it's unnecessary for most builds. So today I kind of want to play devil's advocate with that idea and go over why jury rigging might be considered overrated, even though I personally believe that this perk is fairly strong. So let's go over the stats of jury rigging and actually what it does first up. So jury rigging is a level 14 perk that requires 90 repair. You only have one rank of this perk, so you're just going to be able to take it once, and the effect of jury rigging is that you can roughly repair items with other similar items. First up, the requirements. Level 14 is pretty early on into your journey. I would still consider that the early to mid game in Fallout New Vegas. You can get this without too much trouble. 90 repair is fairly high. That's one of the highest requirements out of any of the perks. There are a few perks that take 100, but 90 repair is pretty high up there. You can still get this, and you could even get all of the skill books in a given area. That way you could potentially maximize your potential for just getting more points to upgrade your build. If you're going with the high intelligence character, then this won't be that big of an issue though. Getting to 90 repair should be pretty easy, and you'll have excess skill points by the end of the game anyway, so you're probably going to be able to max out everything, in which case you might as well just throw 90 repair into your character build pretty early on so you can grab this at level 14. You could, of course, wait a while and take this much later on, because this is always going to be pretty useful. It doesn't really matter if you're, level 50 or level 14. When you get this, it still can provide a lot of value. The actual effect of this perk is really strong, though. It allows you to repair things that are very similar to one another. So in this case, any unarmed weapon could be repaired with any other unarmed weapon, assuming that it's not a specialized weapon that can't be repaired by anything, which case there's a few of those, like the Fist of Ra counts as one. So you're going to have that fixed up with either weapon repair kits or go to a vendor that can fix it for you. One-handed melees can fix up other one-handed melees. This can be pretty useful for a melee build. Same goes with two-handed melees. Guns are where it gets a little bit more complicated, because unarmed and melee are pretty similar. They're pretty straightforward. Energy weapons fall into 4 categories. This has energy pistols, energy rifles that are laser, other energy rifles, and then energy heavy weapons. So you can't repair a flamethrower with your laser rifle, but you could repair a Gatling laser with a flamethrower. Or you could repair something like a plasma defender with a flare gun. This is also kind of similar to guns too, where guns have quite a few categories, where there's one-handed guns. This is pistols, submachine guns, and at least the sawed-off shotgun. You've got the two-handed automatic weapons. These are anything that's semi-auto or fully auto, so this could be the service rifle or the riot shotgun. This could also be things like the marksman carbine or like the 45 SMG. You got a lot of different options there. Then you have any of the manual action guns, which are anything that's a bolt action, pump action, single shot, whatever it might be. So you could fix up your anti-material rifle with a varmint rifle, or you could fix up your brush gun with a trail carbine, or whatever it might be. Guns that are at least similar to one another. Explosives pretty much just fall into 2 categories, since there's not very many explosives, of either grenade launchers or missile launchers. So missile launchers would be anything like the missile launcher, the Fat Man, the Red Glare, and then the launchers would be grenade rifles, the APWs, and the grenade launcher. Not a huge category of weapons there, and you could argue that jury rigging is not as good on certain builds. For example, explosive builds. Explosive builds don't run through the health of the weapon very quickly, so you don't necessarily need it there because you're likely not going to be shooting a ton of shots out of it. Or in the case of something like a grenade rifle, it's not going to be super difficult for you to buy or find another grenade rifle to fix up your grenade rifle. For big weapons like the Fat Man, which are very expensive, you're probably not going to be shooting them that much unless you're doing like a Fat Man exclusive run, in which case then the Fat Man could make a little bit more sense in this case. That's not to say that jury rigging would not help these builds, because another very big part of jury rigging that comes up pretty often is the fact that it does kind of break the economy in Fallout New Vegas. Which is very true. If you can collect high-end weapons that are even in low condition, you can get tons of value out of them thanks to jury rigging, because let's say you get something like a light machine gun off of a super mutant. The value of the light machine gun is 5,200 bottle caps. That is a lot, especially considering you can buy a service rifle, which only has a value of 450 caps, at the maximum amount of health, and then cannibalize it into that weapon. So you've just effectively made about 5 grand in total from that. That is a lot of money that you can get very, very easily, especially later on in the game where you see enemies start coming up with more valuable weapons. Super mutants in particular can carry around things like light machine guns, they can carry around super sledges, those are both worth a lot. They can carry missile launchers that are worth a lot. You can run into either NCR or Legion hit squads depending on who you're siding with, or I guess potentially both if you're not siding with either of them, even potentially Brotherhood hit squads. Tons of very powerful weapons that you could piece together and then sell back to various vendors so that you can get more money from this. And if you have a whole lot of money, that's going to make it a whole lot easier for you to buy the things that you want, whether that be like the implants, unique weapons. Do you want to collect everything? Do you just want to get to a certain amount of money? Totally depends on your character build and what you're actually going for on your playthrough. And that is where jury rigging can really shine. The other spot where jury rigging can really shine is in the armor and the clothing, because you can fix up armor and clothing with one another too. Not directly one for one, but clothing can fix other clothing, and light armor can fix other light armor, as well as some clothing can fix some light armor, which is very nice. You can also fix up medium armor with other medium armor, and heavy armor with other heavy armor. So it makes it so if you do find some of these very good armors, you can wear them right away, and you won't have to worry about having to have them fixed up, because there is no armor repair kit in this game, although you can make weapon repair kits. So you will need to find somebody who can fix up your armor or not take very much damage whenever you're fighting so that you don't damage your armor too much, or you're going to have to find armors that actually work with one another in order to fix them up. This might be easier with certain armor types, like power armor can potentially be easy, especially if you're getting good with the Brotherhood and you just want to purchase it through them, although that is going to be kind of costly. Light armor, this might be a little bit better because some light armors just go right into one another. You don't necessarily need anything that's unique about them. And the same can be kind of true about medium armor. Like most of the Ranger armor will repair other Ranger armor. So if you want to rush one of them early on, like the Desert Ranger armor that you find in Zion, you can still absolutely fix this up later on with other medium armors that also count as Desert Ranger armor, or are the equivalent to the Ranger armor. So everything so far that I've said has pretty much been the pros of jury rigging, where you can break the economy. It's very nice for keeping your weapons repaired. It's very nice for keeping your armor repaired. All of that is really good. What kind of makes this overrated is that you can circumvent a lot of these things. First up would be repairing your weapons. Now you can pay somebody to repair your weapons and that works fine. I have mentioned weapon repair kits, which you can find throughout the wasteland, as well as you can make them yourself, and they're not very difficult to make. They take pretty common supplies. So you could argue that you could just keep making those, and they do scale off of your repair as well. So if you have high repair and you use them on some of your other weapons, like let's say, again, you get a light machine gun, you could just use a few weapon repair kits to fix it up, and the cost of doing that is going to be very low as well. It doesn't really cost that much, even if you wanted to buy everything that's required to make weapon repair kits. So in that case, you could argue that this perk is not really as necessary. In the case of breaking the economy, there's actually quite a few different ways you can break the economy in New Vegas. This way is one of the more straightforward ways, and it works pretty well. There's also the casinos and the snow globes that you can get, which gives you a huge boost in money. Those don't necessarily break the economy because you do only have a limited amount of time to do that, but it likely will get you all the money that you need for a particular build, whatever you're going for. Assuming that you're not going for like a full Fat Man build and you need to keep buying mini nuke because you need that much more money, in which case maybe you might need something else. But there are other perks that can help out with that. Something like Them's Good Eating, which is a fairly unassuming perk, is actually incredibly useful for getting a ton of money. It makes it so you can get thin red paste and blood sausages from any living creature, and those ones can sell for a lot of money, as well as they're some of the best healing items in the game. So that could also easily break the economy. Getting very high amounts of caps isn't super difficult in this. There's other ways to get a lot of money too. You could go to the Sierra Madre and take all the gold out of there. That's worth a ton of cash. You could also get all of the pre-war money there, which is again worth a ton of cash. So you should be good to go if you run through dead money. You'll likely have enough money to buy anything that you would possibly want in the game. And you might argue that this one's not as good. The one part where jury rigging does really shine is in the armor and the helmet / eyeglasses, whatever you're wearing, where that can't as easily be circumvented. It's not like the weapon repair kits where you can fix up your weapons. You do need to go to somebody that can fix up your armor, or you're going to need similar armors. Now, this does heavily depend on which armor you want to be taking. If you're taking power armor, it might be kind of easy to fix this up with other power armor. If you're going with the Desert Ranger gear, or let's say the Elite Riot gear, it might also be fairly easy to actually fix those up too, and you wouldn't necessarily need this perk. For some of the very specialized armors, this one's going to be a little bit more tempting because you probably can't fix it up that easily. You might have to go to vendors to fix it up. So in conclusion, is jury rigging overrated or is it overpowered? Well, it can kind of be both. It depends on what you're actually using it for. I would say if you're just using it as a money-making tool, yeah, it is kind of overpowered because you get a ton of value out of it. You get a lot of utility out of it. It's very nice to have, especially if you get it at level 14, because then you don't have to worry about any of your gear getting broken. But it could also be very overrated if you already plan on getting all of your stuff right at the very start. Let's say you get kicked out of all the casinos because you made too much money and you turn in all of the snow globes. That's probably enough to get all of your implants that you would want onto your character, and you could potentially buy something very powerful like the anti-material rifle, in which case then you wouldn't really need a perk like this, because if you just make weapon repair kits, you'll be fine in order to make it. And you may want to skip it just so that you can have more perks to your build. That is something that I really like about New Vegas though, is that your perk points do actually matter. It's not like in Fallout 4 where eventually you're going to get every perk in the game regardless, so you just pick the best ones first and then save the weaker ones for whenever. In this, once you pick a perk, you are kind of locked into a certain build. But I also don't think that jury rigging is bad for any build, besides maybe a pacifist run unless you just need a whole lot of money, in which case it's still pretty good there. So tell me your thoughts on jury rigging. Do you consider this perk overrated? Do you consider it overpowered? I consider it fairly strong. I don't know if I would say that it's overpowered, but it is definitely a very good quality of life perk to have. Either way, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you guys so very much for watching it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody!